Hi, it's me, G. Gervais, founder of the new Champagne Society podcast. And this is my first episode. And I got to tell you, I recorded the next 3 episodes way before this episode. And for some reason, episode 1, I have been bumping up against what Brene Brown calls FFT, fucking first time. In her podcast episode, her first podcast episode for Unlocking Us, she talks about fucking first times, where you just are up against your edge, your growth edge, your vulnerability edge, the things that you know how to do. I mean, tech edge, perfectionism. I have been feeling some FFTs for episode 1, and I just want to call that out and show up anyway, because it's not so different from every other area of my life, my clients' lives, other women that I interview on this podcast, where you feel that growth edge and you do it anyway. You're learning. So I'm just calling out a little FFT. For some reason, I'm feeling like episode 1 has to be super perfect, when literally when I did in-person Champagne Society events, I would grab a mic, have an outline with 5 bullet points, and just show up and talk. And it would flow. I was not nervous. It was so fun, because there's something about what happens in this room stays in this room. This is not permanent on the internet forever. So, hopefully you're listening to this in 1,000 years and it is still relevant. But I'm just going to let you know that my goal is to show up even when it's not perfect, to not fall victim to what I've seen happening a little bit in the podcast world of everybody's going to fit their podcast into a little box and put a little bow on it and make it this niche thing for it to be of value to you. I know that when I share these conversations with other women and my takeaways as a mindset coach, that it will be of value to you. And I know that when I show up authentically as myself, it will be of value to at least one person. So I'm going for it. And I'm keeping it simple too, with the goal to be as authentically myself as possible, to share from my personal experience as somebody who's been working on themselves for 15 years, as a multifaceted human, as a mom of 3. I've got 7 and 4-year-old daughters and an 11-month-old son, and a certified mindset coach, and hypnotherapist is the newest thing I'm adding to my resume. I've been working with mothers for 6 years on their mindset, on exactly this, perfectionism, showing up even when it's not perfect, and knowing that is still of value to you, to your community, to your family. I've interviewed almost 100 women through our Champagne Society event series in person. So I do feel that as long as I show up authentically and show up even when it feels a little uncomfortable, this podcast, I can give something of value to my community. And that is what I'm really, really wanting to do. Show up consistently and deliver you value, because I have so much to share. So a little bit about me and my business, if you're new here. So my business, when I first started it, was called Shiny Happy Human. And there were periods between each of those words. They were meant to be adjectives. And it was this idea of wanting to talk about what I've always experienced as the juxtaposition of my 2 identities, the shiny, happy, bubbly Gervais and the human Gervais, right? The shiny, happy, bubbly Gervais, who's extroverted, social, goes for it, loves being welcoming and creating community, and what you see is what you get. And also the human Gervais, who has struggled with depression on and off for 15 years, who lost her brother when she was 22, who has had challenging relationships with her mother and has healed those, and is always constantly working on making her relationships with her family, with her children, with her partner better and better as she goes. I'm a lifelong learner. I am just so passionate about personal growth and the fact that I just want to keep shedding layers, keep getting better, keep improving my life, my relationships, my sense of self-worth until I die. And so that's what I help women do. And I feel pretty qualified to do it because of that. And so Shiny Happy Human was the external manifestation of this. And the other thing about Shiny Happy Human is that up until recently, I would say the last few years, I've really been shedding a lot of this, and it still creeps in, is that I have been trying to keep up with Shiny and Happy Gervais to the point of exhaustion. I thought that Shiny and Happy Gervais, that was all that I was supposed to bring to the table, and that the human Gervais, nobody really wanted to eat with her. You can't sit with us. And so even when I started my business, I was still playing with this idea of like, can I bring the whole human woman to the table, to the conversation, to the experience? Can I lead as a coach for mothers, as, a truth teller? Can I lead from my personal experience of not every day is like an amazing day. I don't have impeccable mindset that never shifts, but I do have a lifelong practice of going inward and fixing it and pulling myself out of, those spirals that we have, I call them thought spirals, and working to be better and working to accept and not judge the human version of myself. And so, calling that out has been really liberating and freeing, and it's become a really important part of my work. Because I hope that those of you listening think of me in that way, that you think of me as like, oh, that's her voice. That's what she does. But also that's what I do with my clients. My goal is to help you blend together your identity when you have a baby, is to blend together the shiny, the happy, and the human versions of you. Because when you have a baby, in my experience, having 3 of them, and also working with so many mothers who have had babies, whether it's your first or your 5th, is that it is an identity changing experience. It is, it challenges like what you know, who you are. It challenges your ability to keep up with the productive, shiny, happy, bubbly version of you that you might have been before babies. And that's okay. That's normal. I really want to normalize that. And I think there's such a beautiful range of ups and downs that we experience as humans. And it's important to learning the lessons and making it stick next time. And so that's what I lead with, that's why it is important to talk about and bring light to and call out and not be ashamed of the shiny, the happy, and the human. And so for me, when I became a mom the first time, I lost myself a lot. I've lost myself 3 different ways, 3 different times, after 3 different kids in 3 different ways, each time knowing more than I knew the last time. And it's like a vulnerable time in your life. And so I have found motherhood demands things of you that you can't quite expect. And you just never really know what's going to come at you and what it's going to look like and how it's going to feel and how you're going to brace for it. And so it's different for every woman, and it should be. And also, let's just say, like, it's not always perfect, right? It's not all butterflies and rainbows. It's sometimes really dark days. And sometimes you need the dark to get to the light. And so that has been my personal experience. I went back to work after my first daughter was born, Aria. I was working a corporate job that was great. I was coasting. I was very comfortable. And, as soon as I went back to work after my maternity leave, I was very uncomfortable. I was crying at my desk all the time. It felt really hard to leave her. Like, major props to the working moms that make this work, that are like called to do this work, because I just had this knowing deep inside me, like, not this. This might be for her. This looks different for this mom sitting next to me than it does for me. And this is not the way for me, but I was doing it anyway. And that's like when your intuition tells you to do one thing and you do the opposite, it feels really bad. So me going back to work and working this job, and I had outgrown it. It's like talking about shedding those skins. Like, I needed to shed this skin. And I was like, but the money, but I was going to be in sales, but like, this was the plan. This was the plan. If I could tell you how many times we have to just go over, like, fuck the plan that you made in your mind before you were where you are now, it doesn't always work. You can't anticipate how big, bright, and beautiful your future could be if you're operating from the blueprint for a plan that you made before you were this next version of yourself. I'm going to say that again. You can't anticipate how big and creative and bold and bright your future will be. The plan that you need for that future, you can't make it when you're in the old present, when you're in the old identity of who you are. You need to stretch. You need to be delivered. You need to walk through the fire of your transformation, whether for you, that is having a child, getting a divorce, going back to work, quitting a job, losing a job, whatever it is, whether it's something in your personal life, you need to walk through the fire, survive it, face it, call it out, know like you are still enough, you're okay. And then in your bright, shiny future that you've just stepped into with your new suit of armor, that is your new identity, that's when you make the plan. And so I say that now very confidently because now after this last baby, that's what I did. And it felt uncomfortable, but I did it anyway. After the first baby, fuck no, I had a plan. I was like, I need a plan and this is the plan and I got to stick to the plan, even when it felt 10 sizes too small. Long story short, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression. No surprise there. My husband and I agreed I absolutely needed to quit that job. And I literally quit that job with no plan of what was next. And I don't say that to be like this heroic, like quit your job, but I just really mean it was one of my rock bottoms and it needed to happen. And it does mirror this act of trust that I do condone sometimes, which doesn't always look like quitting your job, but it's like this idea of burning down the old to make space for the new. And if life coaching had landed in my lap, if somebody was like, you should be a life coach while I was sitting in that cubicle at my old job, I would have been like, okay, anyway, next. But because I had reached the point of no return, because I had walked through the fire and felt so miserable, my identity had so changed. I was depressed and had to quit that job. I was in this place of possibility, that bright, beautiful future. And when I went to a writing workshop, because I was like, oh, I'm going to do things that feel creative again. And I sat next to a life coach and she was telling me like, oh yeah, I help people solve their problems. I see their possibilities. I hold their hand and help them, give them permission to like tap into their own inner wisdom, trust their intuition, all of that. I was like, whoa. My whole body was like lit up, goosebumps. I mean, flashing sign, like go this way. And I could receive that and hear it and follow it because I was in this space of, well, I already burned down what wasn't working. So it's pure possibility now. That does not mean it has been easy. That does not mean I've always known the answer, but I've always known go this way. And I can always bring myself back to when I'm having those human experiences, like, okay, get back to neutral and what is my intuition telling me is the right way? Go this way. So I'm sharing that because I don't practice and I don't preach. I don't practice anything I preach. That is not what I meant to say. I don't preach anything I don't practice. I don't teach anything I have not lived myself. It's literally my life's experience that I think inform so much of my teaching and the wisdom that I'm able to share with my community and my clients. And I've had some dark nights of the soul. And I'm not saying that to be melodramatic. I literally am melodramatic. So maybe I just can't help it. But also I'm super sensitive. I am an empath. I am a Pisces. I am a projector in human design. I'm a deep gal. And so that's just how it goes for me. That's really what feels real to me. So what else do I want to tell you? I want to tell mothers everywhere via this podcast that we get to be humans, just like everyone else on the planet. Like we have to be humans because our job as mothers is to model the traits that will truly help our children be successful when it's their turn. Because it's going to be their turn someday, right? Whether it's to be an adult or a mother, that's like resilience, humility, power, self-love. This shit is important. And if we're walking around like we're bulletproof, like perfect little robots, that is not serving them. So this podcast is to give voice and light to the human side, to destigmatize it, and also to help you apply it. Like, how does that tie into, obviously we want to be better. Obviously we want tools and mindset tips and to hear other people's inspiring stories of how we can get to the other side of challenging, boulders in the road, if you will, take a little metaphor from my hypnotherapy teacher. So I am fascinated by this, like other mothers' human experience, especially the really powerful, successful women that have big, loud voices and that just seem invincible, because we're all invincible. Like we're all fireproof. We all have gone through really hard things and come out the other side. But I think it's so powerful when you have someone you look up to that you really respect and admire and hear their story, like have a peek behind the curtain of their experiences as a human, a mom, a partner, activist, blogger, whatever your career is, whatever hats they wear. I want to hear about the full range of their human experience. And so that's what we'll be doing on this podcast. But there's another piece here, which is something I did do at the Champagne Society when it was live events, which is I am going to be constantly championing you to challenge the thoughts and beliefs in your head and the choices that you make. I have a process that I use, which is all about thoughts, beliefs, and choices that I use with my clients. And there are thoughts, beliefs, and choices that you're making, having, doing, choosing every day that make being human harder than it has to be. And so we're going to, reverse engineer a lot of what we're hearing in these conversations to help you see the possibility, to help you see how a different choice, how a mindset shift, like a really subtle change in perspective can literally change your experience as a human and a woman and a mom. Okay. And to bring it full circle, I want to let you know that this year I real low key changed my domain from shinyhappyhuman.com to gervaiskolmos.com because I've outgrown that name and the brand. Like my name, my presence, my authority speaks for itself, and I don't really need the cute name anymore. Plus, people were messing it up a lot and it was really starting to bug me. So, I'm almost 6 years in as an entrepreneur, and I've acquired so much wisdom and talked to so many hundreds of women, whether they're panelists or clients. And I think that my name, like, people already know that's what I stand for. People already know I stand for the shiny, the happy, and the human. And so I'm claiming it. So if you're looking for shiny, happy human, you're still going to get it, but it's Gervais. It's me, G. And the inspiration for Shiny Happy Human is still there in everything I do. I'm here to give voice to the truth that all humans, even life coaches and gurus and Instagram influencers, got to manage the balance between their shininess and their humanness. And the first step to this is normalizing it. I am here to normalize the struggle of the juggle while also giving you mindset tips, tools, practices, shifts to help you overcome it, rise above it. And guess what? You're not going to do this once and then it's going to be over. You're going to have to do it again and again and again, because that is what it is like to be a human. So we're going to talk about that and grow together and rise together and be better together. And we're going to go deep. We're going to go way deeper than balance. Like if you're just here to hear about like, how do you balance entrepreneurship and motherhood? Like, no, that's not what this is about. We're going to peel back like 10 layers because I don't know how to have a conversation with someone and not go to the root. That is literally my job as a mindset coach. And that's what I do in all my relationships. So I will be doing it here. But I also believe that you deserve better than some of the cookie cutter conversations that promise success secrets for mamapreneurs. Like you don't need a cookie cutter conversation. You can handle the depth that we're going to do here. And I think that it will help you expand to grow into the woman that you are meant to be. We're all meant to be bigger than we even can imagine. And you deserve fearless role models, powerful mothers walking their talk, messing it up, learning their human lessons, and trying again the next day. That's what I'm aiming to bring you here with every conversation. And I just believe that's what the world needs more of. Women who aren't afraid to fail, women who are feeling FFTs, but show up anyway, who say like, F it to the status quo, who stop apologizing for who they are and what they desire. And they have like reclaimed the woman who also happens to be a mom, because we're so much more than just a mom. And also we don't have to give the little disclaimer of like, oh, but I love being a mom. Like we know. If you're a mom, you know what that feels like. You know how it is all consuming, takes over your identity, your beliefs, and you're more. No one human is just one thing. So we're going to unpack that and really explore like all the facets of a multifaceted woman. I want these conversations to be permission slips for you to blend the shiny, the happy, and the human parts of yourself into one unique and glorious combination. And who better to guide you through this process than a woman who has walked through the fire herself? Me. G. I just have always felt there's not enough support for moms to strengthen their mindset and give them permission. Permission is so huge to be whole women with identities of their own. But I do. So I'm here to help you turn up the dial on all the parts of yourself you've been denying, making small, judging, dimming since motherhood. You're going to stop that shit. And we're going to get lots of opportunities to know each other. I'm pumped and also feeling like a little bit of a preemptive vulnerability hangover. So get ready for the ups and downs, for the real and the raw, and for coaching concepts you can apply to your real life as mama. All right. Episode 1. That's done. Let's do this. Bye.